Welcome back. All right, so we're going to make a very simple robot in this tutorial. And when I mean simple, I mean very simple. When it comes to anything that's bipedal or character design, you want to make sure that you start off really simple. Some people are better at it than others. And personally, when I first started using Blender, I found it to be quite hard to do. So now that I know that, the one thing I wish I did was make a ton of bipedal characters, slowly upping the detail each character, and that way I would have, improved much quicker. So what we're going to do is we're going to tab into edit mode, and we're also going to do a loop cut. Now we're going to loop cut along the middle here, so just click twice. What I'm also going to do is I'm also going to click the face here, push Alt, and right click. So this should give you the ring, and make sure that half of it's gone. We're going to push X and delete the faces. Now you notice here that you have an empty box. Now this empty box is going to be mirrored. And how do we do that? Well, let's hop into the modifier and we'll add in, that's right, a mirror modifier. Now you have to take a look at the axis that you're going to mirror. In this case, we want to use the Y axis here. Now personally, I like to model with the modeling side on the right. Now watch what happens when I move a vertices. It mirrors it on the other side. Now the reason why we do this is that bipedal characters are by definition symmetrical. So what we need to do is make a symmetrical object. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So first of all, let's go and let's move this in here. So this is going to be our body here. And I should stress, if I haven't already stressed, that this is going to be a fairly simple model. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's add in some loop cuts here. We will add in maybe a couple. One here, loop cut again, and something like that. Let's add in two more loop cuts this way on the other side. So we'll add something like this, and we will add in one more, something like that. Let's hop into face mode, and we're going to extrude. And well, we kind of got our legs right there. Okay. Um, if you want to, you can kind of extrude it out a bit and then extrude it in if you want to add in some detail here. But for me personally, if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that the top half is bigger than the bottom half, because it's just like if you look at your calves versus your quads, it's a little bit bigger. So you can do that if you wish, but I'm just going to go and not scale it because I kind of like this aesthetic here. Okay, and I'm just going to move in. I'm going to push E to extrude, and I'm going to push E to extrude, and we can scale that in just a bit. Okay, and there we go. We have this nice little robot here. At least we have the legs. All right, let's do the same kind of concept for the arm here. And by the way, even though we're making a simple model, this is what you do to make a more detailed model. You just do a lot more of it. All right, so we're going to loop cut along this side here. So we'll give them kind of like that. And we'll add another loop cut, something like that here. Let's go into face mode here, and we'll just push E to extrude. All right, and if you wanted to, you could scale it up a bit, and then this gives them kind of like the bicep here. Now that actually looks pretty good. I'm just going to move it in a bit. Now the other thing you need to know is that oftentimes when you make something, you don't have to use very big you don't have to use very big movements. In fact, a lot of the best movements here that designers do are actually really subtle. So you can see that I'm kind of making it bigger, then smaller, and then add that in here. Actually, I'm going to extrude just a little bit, and I'm going to make this quite a bit bigger. And this is going to be the hand. Okay, and if we wanted to, we could make digits, but I think that's probably good enough. Something like that here, and we can kind of move it in here. So we got this nice little robot. Now, at this point in time, we could kind of play around with the edges here if we really wanted to. Like, for example, we can move these in move them in like that. I think that's not a bad idea. Let's do that right now. So it makes it look a little bit better. So we conveniently have a neck here, so we can just kind of move it out here. Now it might be a little bit thin, and I think actually that it is probably a bit thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these, just kind of move them out just a bit, right? For whatever reason, if you have a thin neck, sometimes it looks really bad. At least that's been my experience here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move this out even more so that it's something more like that. Okay, and of course there's actually styles of art where the neck is actually really, really, the style of art, it is really easy and it's really thin. So just again move it in. And all right, so this is probably it here. So we now have a neck here. In fact, we can almost call it a day here because that little robot actually looks pretty good. Do we even need a neck? And the answer is, I think in this case, we can almost get away with this. We could get away with this little neck here. But let's go ahead and let's add in some loop cuts. Okay, and we're just simply going to move that up, and then another loop cut. Something like that. We need to add in some more loop cuts. We want to make the eyes here, so we're going to add in another loop cut. And I think that's good for now. Let's select this middle one and just give it extrude here. Now, not too much. I think that's probably good there. So you can see that we have the eyes there. We could scale it in if we really wanted to. And let's go ahead and let's make a mouth. So let's go ahead and loop cut. Notice I'm using loop cut a lot. One of the things you need to understand when it comes to modeling is that you see that I'm using a lot of these same items here and these same processes. Okay, I'm just going to move it out just a bit, maybe not more than the eyes, but there we go. We have this nice little item here, and we could probably give this robot maybe something on the side here. So let's add in a loop cut, maybe one around here, and another loop cut, one maybe around here. All right, and we can select maybe a couple of these, kind of move it out a bit, give it some ears. And you can see here this has actually started to look like, well, a robot. Now, let's add in, and let's take a look and just move this edge here, and I'm just trying to make sure it's the edge here, and we might as well move all three of these, just kind of back a bit. Okay, and maybe move this one a little bit here, and you're going to see why I'm going to do that in just a second. I'm going to extrude this, and there we go. We have this nice little, well, we have something that works here. Now if you move this to the side, and there we go. Let me tab into object mode for a second. And here you go, you can see you have a nice little blocky robot here. Now we could play around with this quite a bit. For example, we could, if we tab back into edit mode, first of all, we could move a lot of these vertices inward like this and like this. And that way, the robot looks a little bit more slender. Okay? And we could select all of these on the side here and just simply move them all in. Maybe up a bit. Right? And you want to make sure that, we move maybe up and over like that here. And that way it gives more of a kind of a masculine feel to it. And I think that, just you see how just by moving a bunch of vertices, it actually makes it look pretty good. And we could also give this guy some robot pecs, and we could probably just move them out here just like that. Okay. And likewise, while we're here, let's hop into vertice mode and kind of move these in. just like that here. And so there we go. You can see that looks, quite a bit better. And while we're here, if we wanted to, we could maybe play around with the legs a bit. For example, we could add in, maybe move all of these in like that. Yeah, and I think that looks pretty good. And while we're at it, we can move these in as well. And there we go. So there we go. We have this nice little robot. This is something that would probably be N64 grade, but there we go. We have this nice robot. Now it also works with this blocky aesthetic as well. And if you want to, and if you're bad at making these bipedal models, maybe make 2 or 3 of these when you exit this tutorial, and that way what will happen is that way you'll get better and better at this. This includes the tutorial.